Welcome to The Whispers by our King. I am our King, writer, narrator, and collector of stories that prefer the darkness. Here, in this place between nightmare and reality, we explore horror, thriller, and Gothic mystery stories written by me and whispers brought to me by others. Some tales are true, some might be, and a few should never have been told at all. So sit back, lower the lights, and listen carefully, because every whisper hides a secret. Welcome to The Whispers by our King. It was a cold, dark night in London. The streets were empty. Nothing but puddles shimmering beneath the weak glow of gas lamps. And through that fog-choked silence rode Tom the vampire hunter, a lone cowboy in a city drowning in fear. Windows slammed shut as he passed. But Tom didn't flinch. He listened until a strange humming drifted down from a chimney above. Tom's eyes narrowed. The humming stopped, and on the rooftop above him, a pale figure crouched in the moonlight. A vampire. Tom drew his revolver and fired without hesitation, but the shot missed. The creature hissed, spun around, and vanished into the darkness. Tom tapped his heel against his stallion. The hunt had begun. Tom chased the creature into a narrow alley. The fog thickened. The city fell silent again. Too silent. Tom stood still, listening, waiting. Then he saw it. In the reflection of a puddle behind him, the vampire crept closer. Tom spun around and fired. The bullet struck true. The vampire collapsed into the shadows. Ohm hauled the creature's body over his horse. Even his loyal stallion shuddered beneath the weight. As Tom rode toward the police station, shutters creaked open. Fearful faces peered out. Some whispered, some cheered. The vampire, tormenting London, was finally dead. The police were already waiting. Tom stopped in front of the superintendent, and the vampire's body fell heavily to the ground. Tom didn't look up. He simply said he wanted his money. But the superintendent shook his head. They wanted the vampire alive. Tom answered coldly. He's alive. As if on cue, the creature groaned. Coins were tossed at Tom's feet. He collected them calmly and walked into the night. Hold on. A new chapter awaits. Tom found his way to a dim, smoky pub. The bartender didn't ask questions, just poured his usual whiskey. Tom drank alone in the corner until the door burst open. A woman rushed in, demanding to know if anyone had seen a cowboy dressed in black. Her eyes locked onto Tom's shadowed figure. She approached his table without hesitation. She had heard of his hunt, and she needed his help. Her brother, she said, was changing, behaving like something inhuman. They believed he had become a vampire. Tom didn't even lift his head when he answered. Vampires can't be cured, only killed. But she insisted. She begged him to try, and she offered a price he could not refuse. Her brother, she said, was hiding in the abandoned coal factory. Tom agreed at dawn he would return with her brother, or not at all. Hold on, a new chapter awaits. As dawn approached, the fog thickened again. Tom stepped outside, mounted his horse, and rode through the quiet streets. The city whispered of his deeds, but the hunt wasn't over. Another vampire waited, and Tom would face him before sunrise. The abandoned coal factory loomed over the horizon, tall and silent like a grave marker. Its broken windows stared outward like hollow eyes, and the wind moaned through the metal beams as Tom approached. The woman waited at the gate, pacing nervously. Beside her was a large steel cage covered by a cloth. When Tom reached her, she explained. She knew capturing a vampire wouldn't be easy. She hoped the cage would help. Tom didn't comment. He simply nodded and rode through the rusted gates, ready for the hunt. Inside the factory, it was colder than the night outside. The air was thick with dust, rot, and old smoke. Tom dismounted, loaded his rifle, and walked deeper into the darkness. Then he heard a sound from above, a soft dragging, like something heavy being pulled. He climbed the steel staircase slowly. At the top, the horror became clear. Bodies cut open and drained, hung from the railings by chains. Tom's grip tightened. He moved forward and saw a figure hunched beside a corpse, the woman's brother. For a moment, Tom aimed, but stopped. He was asked to bring the creature alive. Tom had an idea. He fired a shot into the ceiling, startling the vampire. The creature leapt down toward the ground floor to escape exactly where Tom wanted him. Below, Tom raced to the spot where a heavy net hung overhead. The creature's shadow approached. Tom fired at the rope. The net crashed down, trapping the vampire in a violent tangle of steel and rope. Tom called out, "Bring the cage." The doors burst open as the woman and the man with her rushed in, pushing the steel cage across the floor. Together, they forced the thrashing vampire inside. The moment they shut the door, silence returned. Tom lit a cigarette, climbed onto his horse, and disappeared into the fog while the woman took her brother home. Hold on. A new chapter awaits. The next morning, Tom was found sleeping against a hay bale by a police officer. He was told the superintendent needed him immediately. At the police station, the superintendent tossed a newspaper onto the desk. On the front page, the vampire Tom had captured had escaped, and 2 more people were dead, including a member of parliament. Tom wasn't surprised. Vampires were clever, fast, and nearly impossible to contain. Moments later, the woman entered the room. Her eyes were swollen from crying. She couldn't say a word. The superintendent made it clear. This vampire, her brother, had to be destroyed. There was no more talk of healing, only ending the killings. Tom accepted the job without hesitation. He asked where the vampire had been seen. The answer, the old church near the district, where Tom killed the first vampire. Tom nodded, turned, and walked out to his waiting horse. As night fell over London once more, The fog returned, heavier than ever. People rushed home, locking doors, lowering shutters. The city held its breath. Tom rode through the emptying streets, heading straight for the old clock where the vampire was last seen. A sudden scream shattered the silence. Tom turned his horse sharply toward the sound. He arrived just in time to see the vampire crashing through a window and landing on the cobblestones below. Its eyes glowed with hunger. Tom raised his revolver, but before he could fire, a group of police officers arrived. They explained the superintendent sent them to help. Tom only nodded and sped ahead. The chase erupted across London's narrow streets. Tom's stallion thundered through the fog faster than the creature ahead. Tom fired the bullet, struck the vampire. The creature stumbled. It wasn't dead, but it wouldn't get far. Moments later, the vampire leapt from the shadows, ambushing an officer. Tom responded instantly. Another perfect shot. The vampire collapsed. The officers tied the body tightly and loaded it onto Tom's horse. By the time they returned to the police station, dawn was still hours away. The superintendent wasn't present. Tom simply placed the vampire in a cell and walked toward the exit. An officer stopped him and handed him a bag of coins payment. Tom nodded once, turned to his loyal stallion, and rode into the fog in search of his next hunt. You've been listening to The Whispers by Our King. If the shadows unsettled you, good. It means you heard them properly. New stories arrive soon, tales from my hand, and from others brave enough to share theirs. Until then, keep your doors locked, your mind open, and your ears sharp, because the whispers are never really gone. This is Our King. Until next time, stay in the light.